What's up, football world? I am Bucky Brooks. This is the Bucky Brooks Show. And I got to tell you, this is going to be a Jaguars specific show. Given my ties and affiliation with the Jags, I want to spend a little time, just 20, 25 minutes, talking about the draft, how the Jaguars approach the draft, and what it means for this team going forward. And I know there's a lot of conversation, a lot of consternation about this class because I guess on Twitter there was a little dust up about consensus boards and the Jags not operating off of that consensus board and why their picks are reaches and those things. I'm going to address it right now because I think James Gladstone had to address it, and I'll just add some context to the way that things operate within a building. In a building, when you're scouting for a team, the team that you scout for, let's say I work for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Early on in the process, meaning in the summertime before we go to training camp, all the scouts convene, everyone sits together in a meeting. We kind of readdress, here are the things that we really are looking for in players. And normally as it goes around the room, we talk about every position, describe what the attributes are that we're looking for: quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, tackle, offensive guard, center, defensive end, linebacker, safety, corner, nickels, all those things. It's all put out there. So you have a clear understanding on what the prototypes are, what kind of guys we look for, those things. But then it goes beyond the physical attributes. It goes to what we call the intangibles. What are the qualities that really matter most to us? What are the core values that they have to have? Smarts, toughness, physicality, how do they cooperate? What kind of teammates are they? Are we looking for team captains, natural leadership ability, all those things? You heard James Gladstone allude to, he and Liam this year in particular, they alluded to DUVAL DNA. And what they're doing is they put a brand on the types of guys that they want, and they have to have this certain kind of DNA. We can talk about toughness, physicality, work ethic, the way they get along as great teammates. All of that is a part of that DNA. And when you say that and you put these parameters down, what it does is it allows you to kind of narrow your focus on, these are the kind of guys that we're chasing. This is the type of player that we want, not only on the field, off the field, and we're going. Another part of this process for the Jags in particular is they really try and shut out the white noise. They try and shut out the outside noise by utilizing, I would say, different methods, protocols, processes that allow them to avoid the biases that naturally come in when you take in some of the information on the outside. No matter how strongly convicted I can be in a player, if I'm inundated with a bunch of outside noise about a player, sometimes it can seep into my report unconsciously. So what the Jags are doing is they're trying to eliminate all of those things. And so there's different methods that they use in the scouting game to kind of keep their scouting reports and their evaluations pure. So when we have all this conversation on the outside about, hey, these boards rank 1 to 150, 1 to 200, whatever that is, it's going to look vastly different than the Jaguars board because, one, the Jags are looking specifically for a team, meaning their scouts are looking specifically for who fits this team. 2, do they have all of these qualities physically? 3, do they have these characteristics that we want mentally and from your intangible and football character standpoint? Then 4, it's about the medical stuff and anything else that goes along with that. On the consensus boards that may be media driven or however you do it, these are just looking at the tape and saying, hey, I like these players. I'm just generalizing these players. It doesn't matter what scheme or whatever. Here are the 150 best players in my estimation, which is fine, but it's different than the way a team would operate. So when the outrage happens at the end of the draft about, oh, the Jaguars reach for all these players or whatever, we really don't know because we don't really know what the plan is for the draft class or whatever. So I would employ everybody, have a little patience. Let's see what it plays out. And in 2 to 3 years, we'll know whether it was a success or a failure. We'll actually know sooner than that based on the way that the Jaguars play. That said, what I can tell you about it from listening, watching, knowing the team, I would say that this team in this draft made a concerted effort to kind of continue to support the culture, meaning last year there was a lot of conversation about how you're going to create culture, what does it mean, and those things. And James Gladstone gave a very smart answer to it, but it was a little long, and you can kind of get lost in the sauce when you talked about prospects being intangibly rich, meaning they are so loaded with the intangibles that we covet that they're just going to be able to enhance our culture by being themselves. Well, if you think about the types of guys that they brought in this class, look, man, 10 guys that came in that kind of fit the build and the mold of what the Jags want to be. Tough, smart, physical, selfless, we over me guys that can get it done, but they don't worry about who gets the credit, all of those things. Because remember, we're not collecting talent, you're building a team. And to build a team, you got to have people that cooperate, that get along with each other, and actually want to uplift each other by the way that they play, the way that they talk, the way they interact on a daily basis. And looking at this class overall, some of the things that stand out to me, man, this team took 4 former walk-ons. 4. Crazy. Like, it's crazy to think about that. But Nate Boerkircher, Josh Cameron, Zach Durfee, Parker Hughes, all were former walk-ons. And when you listen to James Gladstone talk in the presser, he talked about how that they admired those kind of guys because they had to get it the long way. Some would say, oh, they had to get it out the mud. Yes, they had to grind through some things to have an opportunity to play at their respective colleges, and then to play well enough to go and have an opportunity to play in the league. Man, that's a special something to you to be able to do it. So one, that stood out. The other thing that stood out to me was just the innate physicality and toughness that all of these players show from top to bottom. The first thing that stood out to me when I saw, man, all these guys, the wide receivers are blocked on the outside, the linebacker, Hughes plays like his hair's on fire. You think about some of the other, Durfee is a relentless pass rusher off the edge who just won't stop. You think about some of the teams in the division and how they build their teams and how their playing style and what they do to get down. Houston, arguably the most physical team in the league. Jaguars got to be able to go toe-to-toe against them to hold on to the crown going forward. So you got to make sure your team is tough enough and rough enough to deal with that. Robert Saleh and what they're doing with the Tennessee Titans, you can see a renewed commitment to physicality and toughness, particularly on defense. They're going to want to beat you up and kind of bully you. And when the Titans have been the Titans, they had some of that mentality about them, a nastiness to them that you always had to admire and respect, and you had to kind of match or exceed their intensity, or you can get blown out of the stadium. The Indianapolis Colts are tricky because on the surface, you don't think of them as a physical team, but they are physical. When they're able to dictate the terms, they're physical. So for the Jaguars to win, they had to build this team and this roster knowing that we got to contend with some bullies. We got to have a physicality about us to where we get into these dogfights. We don't blink. We don't relent. And more importantly, we just need an overall toughness to give us a chance to win against any team, home or away. When I look at this class, despite all of the noise and everyone throwing darts and ranking the Jaguars 32nd of the 32 teams and what they pulled in from the draft, I understand it, but I think we should take pleasure in telling these guys that, look, they're going to be wrong about this class. They're going to be wrong about this team. And we'll look back and this team will be a big part of the foundation that has helped this team sustain the level of success that we got a little taste of last year. And speaking of success and taste, right now, go to FanDuel Sportsbook, and if you're going to lay a little wager down, I'll give you 2. You can go over under on Jags to win 9.5 games. I'm going to take the over, and right now, those odds are plus 110. If you don't like that, we can go plus 190 to win the AFC South, considering we're the defending champs, the way the team is constructed. Man, I'll probably lay and play both of those bets because I'm really big and I'm really big on the Jags, and I'm bullish on their future as we go forward. But now let's talk about this team and what some of the themes that came out about not only the team, but the players that they picked. You talked about the team that took, I want to say they took 10 guys, and all of them bring different skills to the table. When you think about the second round pick, who probably is the most controversial pick, 56 overall, Nate Boerkircher. And the tight end from Texas A&M is a blocking tight end. He is what we call a traditional Y tight end, meaning he's going to line up attached to the tackle. He's going to block. He's going to be a bit of a road grader and those things. Don't expect him to be a major contributor in the passing game, but he can catch passes and do those things. And it's important that I not only link Nate in, but we have to talk about the second tight end so I can fully make the point. So the second tight end they bring in comes from Houston, and is Tanner Koziel. And Koziel is important because he's the pass catcher. He is the guy that caught 237 passes, had 2,200 yards, 24 touchdowns, 3 seasons at Ball State in Houston. The reason why these two additions are important and why I'm going to talk about them first, this is a signaling of the offensive change that is on the horizon in terms of how the Jaguars are going to play. Last year, primarily, they were a team that lived in 11 personnel, meaning 1 back, 1 tight end, 3 wide receivers. They did that, had plenty of success doing it. However, in being a team that wants to pride itself in being physical, you got to be able to run the football. Sometimes you got to run the ball out of heavy sets like they want to do. Also, when you look across the league landscape, you find an outlier that had a lot of success with multiple tight ends on the field, and that would be the LA Rams. LA Rams killed it when it came to 13 personnel, the way they scored touchdowns, the way they operated efficiently in the red zone. Well, given the relationships between Liam and others in the building with the Rams, you know that they're looking at those tapes and they're saying, how can we utilize something like that to maybe unlock other parts of the offense? So what they do is they go get 2 tight ends to complement Brenton Strange. They get a wide tight end, kid we talked about from Texas A&M. They get an F tight end to back up Strange. And then you are setting yourself up to have 2 tight ends, a bunch of different things, a bunch of different formations and personnel groupings to create chaos. As I've said previously, when it comes to multiple tight ends, it is the easiest formation for the offense, but the hardest formation for the defense to get lined up because that second tight end is a moving chess piece. He can line up in the backfield and create regular 21 personnel looks. He can line up out wide, and then you have spread formations. He can line up in empty out wide, and then you have to uncover and declare who you're going to guard. All those things are there. Well, when you have that ability and you're Liam Coen and you're a very creative play caller, it now allows you to dictate the terms to the offense. More importantly, it helps you when you come down to the red zone because now you can go big on big and feel confident that your bigs are going to overwhelm the others. That's why those 2 tight ends were important. Now, when you go down a little lower, now we begin to talk about the offense and how the offense gets involved in this a little bit. And to me, it is all about Emmanuel Pregnon coming on board. And when I watched him at Oregon, I'm going to tell you, man, he's just a mauler brawler. He just absolutely mollywops people at the point of attack. He is nasty. He's feisty. He's physical. He finishes. He has violence, all of those things. Now, if you're asking me what led him to go to the 3rd round, I can't tell you why he went to the 3rd round because to me, he was a borderline 1st round, top of the 2nd round player. He's there in the 3rd round. Jaguars swoop him and pick him up, and now they give him a chance to put a big boy, a nasty boy, right in the starting lineup, or he can kind of earn it by being a swing player, kind of getting in where he fits in an offensive line that is already pretty rock solid, but he can come in and certainly add to that. When I think about what this team wants to do, a lot of his clips were all in the run game, and they do want to run it. But if they can open it up and keep Trevor Lawrence protected, particularly up the middle, like Pregnon could be assigned to occupy the middle until everything clears, you should feel good about that because he's solid. He's physical. He's feisty. He plays with an edge, but he understands how to dial it back when need be. I love that. And I love that for us, and I love that for him. Now, when we go to the 3rd round, this is where it really it kind of got out of sorts. It got out of kilter. Jalen Husky, DB from Maryland. He was originally listed as a cornerback, but they've already declared that he's going to be a safety type. At Maryland, if you know anything about Maryland, man, they just have guys that play the game. Mike Locksley does a great job of developing those guys, preparing them for the pros and those things. Now, the wins and stuff when it comes to like being able to win games, you have to be able to win games by having multiple safeties in the backfield, multiple safeties that can take the ball away, multiple safeties that can make things happen. When you lose Dewey Wingert, you got to have someone that can fill that role. And I know last year we got really excited about Antonio Johnson. He deserves to be in the lineup. He's terrific. Eric Murray's the other guy who's been starting, but man, eventually you like to have a more athletic tight end, a more athletic safety in place to be able to do it. You have some other guys that are roaming through. Caleb Ransall got some times, like all these guys that are rolling through. Raymond Lane, who's a special teams player, but you're trying to settle in and find someone that can eventually be a starter. Jalen Husky's versatility is interesting to me because he does have some things where he can do it a little differently than has been done before. Because he has 11 interceptions, has some corner in his background, he can maybe come down and play over the tight end, over slot, and man-to-man if they elect to do that. He can play in the deep middle with the coverage and get over the top and discourage the deep throws and those things because of his athleticism and playmaking ability. He can also make contributions on special teams, which are critical because of his size, speed, energy, and physicality. He's worthy of being on that mix. So as I look at the first part of the draft and everyone is kind of whining, like, what are they doing? If I told you that Pregnon can play and was like a borderline first round, if we flipped the order between him and Boerkircher, you would take that and you say, man, what a great haul. They did a great job of bargain shopping at the store. They got it off the sales rack. They got all the pieces in the puzzle the way they wanted it, all those things. Great. Let's just take the players for what the players are. They got really good players. Even though it might have been out of order, it worked for what they're doing. Now, on day 3, I'm going to be honest with you. Day 3 it's a dart throwing contest. 4th round, you're trying to find someone that slipped through the cracks that you thought would be gone on day 1 or day 2, but see, here they are, day 3. Wesley Williams is that guy. Wesley Williams was an East-West Shrine Bowl participant. I watched him dominate throughout the course of the week. I watched him flash multiple times in the game. And even though the sack production over the last 3 years says 11, 7.5 in 2024, he has pass rush skills. He has a big body, a high revving motor. He definitely embodies the DUVAL DNA that they talk about. At 4, he is a nice backup swing player behind Trayvon Walker and Josh Hines-Allen. I wouldn't be surprised to eventually see him make his way into the lineup as a rotational player to keep everybody fresh and to make things happen. Let's go to the 6th round. 6th round is really interesting because this is where the Jaguars took 2 wide receivers, Josh Cameron, C.J. Williams. Josh Cameron from Baylor, C.J. Williams from Stanford. Josh Cameron is the one that you really want to keep your eye on because when you watch him, one, he is built. He's almost built like a running back, 6'2", 220 pounds, super strong, 528-pound squat, plays outside, so he's not a slot. But what he is one of the best punt returners that you'll see. This dude averaged over 20 yards a punt return in 2024, led the country. He also can do those same things with the ball in his hands. He can make it happen in space as a playmaker, catch and run specialist. Talk about 121 catches over the last 2 years, 1,600 yards, 19 touchdowns. He has all of that, but he's a willing blocker on the perimeter. And so the theme that we're going to continue to hear is, oh, man, they play their role well, but they're not afraid of the dirty work. If they got to go back to doing the dirty work, they'll give it up and get to it. That's what you like because it kind of speaks to the kind of rough and rugged team that we're building, a team that has blue chip talent, but a blue collar mentality, always win. And that's certainly what the Jags are assembling. You follow Josh Cameron up with a pick for C.J. Williams, and C.J. Williams is more of your traditional wide receiver, smooth, fluid, catches the ball well, very productive. First at Wisconsin, then he finds his way to the farm, and he makes some things happen. He has a nice route running, pass catching, playmaking game. He did have 3 100-yard seasons back to back in the middle of the year. So he can do some of those things that you traditionally see your 1s and 2s do on the field. What you like about him is, man, he's smart, he's tough, he's a worker bee. He'll continue to work and refine his game. When he gets his opportunity, he'll be ready. So I am all in on those 2 picks for the wideouts because wideouts 4 and 5, they not only need to be able to get on the field and know the positions, but they need to be able to get on the field and make contributions in special teams. Their bread will be buttered on how well they take care of their business away from the main duties. How do they handle special teams and whatever bit parts or small roles they play within the offense. If they handle the little things well, then they have an opportunity to handle bigger and better things. And that's what every coach wants to hear and see from his prospects. Let's finish up. So now we're talking about Zach Durfee from Washington, pass rusher, who is a former walk-on, who, man, he really went a long way to get this done, but he shows up and shows out whenever he gets an opportunity. Relentless motor, edgy player who's kind of feisty when he has it. Not necessarily a guy that's going to wear you out or whip you with a bunch of different moves, but he is not afraid of the smoke. He's going to make it a fist fight on the edge, and that physicality and toughness and juice, man, he makes him one of my favorites already. And I know he is going to be a special team standout that you have to really pay close attention to. Final guy that was drafted, 7th round pick. He was drafted with this 240th pick overall, Parker Hughes from Middle Tennessee. And Parker Hughes, 7th round, priority free agent. People not really respecting him, his game, or what it could be. But you should pay close attention to his game because he is fast. He's physical. He covers a lot of ground. Had 100 tackles last year, 795 snaps, ran a 4.39 40. So I'm telling you right now, he is going to make his mark on special teams. You can see right in this draft class, so many guys are going to have to really make it happen on teams, and so many guys are capable of really helping the Jags field the best special teams unit in the league. Parker Hughes' speed combined with some of the other guys coming downhill making plays, it is going to give the Jags an opportunity to win the critical third phase of the game, but more importantly, a way to separate in some of these tight contests because their kicking game is superior to anyone that they face. That's why you like what they put in. Overall, man, this is a high-quality list of players. And the Jags talked about having 55 guys on their hot list heading into it, how they checked them all off and got them all done. So they love what it looks like. But now we have to spend more time patiently waiting to see how it plays out on the turf. And I'm going to tell you in a couple of weeks, I'm going to be at minicamp, Ricky minicamp, get a chance to see those guys for the first time. I'm excited about that, just like I'm excited about what we're doing here on the Bucky Brooks Show as we're growing the brand and growing the product, specifically to make sure that we take care of all NFL fans, but particularly my DUVAL fans who've been rocking with me since day one. That is the show, the Bucky Brooks Show. Make sure you tune in later in the week. We're going to have another episode they're dropping. We'll talk about all the things that are going on in the league this week as we look forward to Ricky minicamp that'll take place over this next weekend and the weekend after. Until then, I'm Bucky Brooks. I'm out.